I mean, I hope.
Yeah. Okay, before we move off, hey Arnold, I mean, is there any, what memories do you take away from being on the show? I mean, what would you say was your favorite memories from doing that show?
Oh, wow. I think just the whole period of time. Now it's sort of all one big memory, you know. I just think it was just an amazing time to be in animation, you know, in the 90s. Being in the studios were just so supportive, and you know, they had a lot of events for us, the Kids Choice Awards I got to go to, and just kind of being a family. It really was a cartoon that you felt like you were a family on. So I would say the whole thing was pretty much a good memory.
Let me go into some of your other career now. I just want to go through a few the other ones. So, when did you just first start going into voice acting? I mean, how did you first get into it at the very beginning of your career?
Kind of a mistake. I'm a singer, and when I was a little kid, I used to just, you know, do musical theater here in LA for fun, and I sort of accidentally found myself in on camera. And, you know, eventually, I guess all kids who sing or act find themselves here in LA and on camera. But my agency also had like a very small budgeting voiceover part of it. And it was just a kids agency. I would do voiceover when I had time in between on camera stuff. And then as I got older, it just my voiceover career sort of blossomed. And when I graduated college, it was really all I wanted to do.
So that's expanded into various other areas, and apparently, according to your bio, you also appeared in was it one episode of Lois and Clark: The Adventures of Superman? I mean, do you have any memories of that?
Yeah, I was on that show. I did a lot of on camera when I was a kid. I was on Home Improvement. I actually used to get hate mail from girls for being Jonathan Taylor Thomas's girlfriend.
Really? It's like, well, people took it that seriously.
Going, I hate you. Mine. It was pretty weird.
Yeah, yeah. Now it'd just be email. Now. So basically, I think hate mail's become
right?
manageable. Yeah,
don't get to open it and get all disappointed.
You're also on the TV series Baywatch, starring David Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson. What were your memories of being on that?
Oh God, I love that show. They have all the best toys there. I was on 2 different episodes. So on one episode, I got to ride around a wave runner all day. That was pretty fun.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And I got to go to. There's a junior lifeguard, like one big day of competition. I think it was in the very beginning of one of the episodes.
Yeah. Moving on from that, you also mentioned that you're on Home Improvement. Did you actually? You're on 3 episodes, and obviously you got hate mail for it. I mean, did you get to meet Tim Allen in that? And was it? Yeah, if you say the positives were all worth it.
Yeah, I got to meet the whole cast. But I was doing Boy Meets World at the time too, and it was on the same lot at Disney, so I kind of knew the kids anyway. And Jonathan did a lot of voiceovers, so I knew him before I was on the show. I didn't know the other boys, but it's kind of a small town here in LA.
This is actually one thing I never knew about you until basically just a couple of weeks ago. You were Ashley A of the Ashleys in Recess.
Hmm. And so Fran got to be my sidekick on Recess. I was hers on Hey Arnold, and she was mine on Recess because she was one of the Ashleys as well.
Scandalous.
Scandalous, yeah. That was a great show too, because again, like, it's such a small town. The Paul and Joe, the creators of Recess, they're all friends with Craig and Joe Purdy and all the guys from Hey Arnold. They all know each other.
You also appeared on actually a show called Samurai Jack. That was on Cartoon Network. Any memories of that? Apparently, that was a really popular show on Cartoon Network. I remember quite a few episodes.
I think I only got to work with the kids, the other kids in the episode that I was on. I think that one was done, like, the creator called in. I don't think he was actually there. I hadn't done that very much as, in animation where people call in. They're usually there directing you. So that was a much different experience. That was a great show, too. It was fun.
You also played a character on Lloyd in Space. What was it like to be a character on that show?
Let's see. I'm trying to remember who was on that show. Well, Justin, I think, was on it.
Yeah, Justin was on the show.
So I did get to see him. And I think some of the kids who were on Recess and Hey Arnold, we sort of all were on those 3 shows at some point. I was happy because I got to, when I did Ashley, the character in Lloyd in Space, Brittany, was kind of similar. She was, a little bit vapid and kind of a little bit older, though. And so I changed her voice a little bit, and it reminded me of the Chipette. What's her name? The lead Chipette, Brittany. Yeah. In the Chipettes. So I've always loved Brittany. So I kind of mimicked the character Brittany that I did in Lloyd in Space after her.
Actually, I don't know if I'm not sure this is you want to mention this film, but you also played the role of what was it, Robin Starling in Tom and Jerry the movie. Any memories of that at all?
Oh, yeah, that was like the biggest deal ever as a kid. I had to go on like 9 auditions for that role. It was a huge deal for me when I was, Tom and Jerry the movie. Thing that, Henry Mancini, I had to sing with him a few times before they finally hired me. So that was definitely a big deal.
Actually, I don't know if you knew about this, but the nostalgia critic. I'm not sure if you've ever heard about him. He basically he reviewed the film and ripped it a new one, and also the film didn't make as much money as everyone hoped. I mean, after doing 9 auditions and then basically seeing that how negatively it was responded to. I mean, how did you feel about that afterwards?
I don't think I cared. I was a kid. I got to have a great time. It was a really unique opportunity, and I met some really, amazing people. I got to sing live with Henry Mancini at an event. I didn't care.
Yeah. Apparently, Joseph Barbera was supposed to be the creative consultant of Tom and Jerry the movie. Was he ever around when you were doing the movie?
Yeah, he was there.
Really?
He signed a cell for me too, which I have in my house. Yeah, he was definitely a big part of it.
Oh wow! Actually, that's because that goes against quite a lot of the rumors that go around the internet.
Okay, my memory is a little hazy, so I don't remember exactly which things he showed up to, but I'm pretty sure he was there when I recorded the song.
Really, that's interesting because there was a suggestion that Joseph Barbera was basically just shown basically certain things, and basically he wasn't actually too involved in the production. But if you've seen him, I think that turns around quite a few things. I have to say about some of the stuff I've heard on the internet.
I don't know how involved he was in the whole production. I just know for my part of it, he was there. I think I have a picture somewhere of him and Henry and I at some event in Santa Monica that I went to with them, and I sang the song. I think it was like one of those film festivals where the international people come and they distribute the film or something. I don't remember because I was kind of young, but I think I have a picture of that somewhere.
Oh, that's really interesting. You played the role of Emily Wong in Mass Effect, both Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2. What was it like being basically doing voices for video games?
I think Emily Wong in particular was one of the most intimidating roles I've ever played, only because I didn't audition for it. I had no idea. I'm going to Microsoft for the first time ever, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do or who his character is, and nobody sent me anything before I went, nothing. So I show up there, and they're like, "Oh, here's this, 20-something-year-old Asian reporter. Go." I was like, "Okay, well, here we go." And so that was pretty intimidating for me. Usually, I audition for stuff, so I have sort of a sense of what I sent them, so I know what they're expecting. But this one, I just sort of showed up to be called back for the second one too. And I heard that she died on Twitter for the third one.
Oh, really? Well, you found out on Twitter that she died.
Yeah, she was like tweeting or something. I don't know. I was supposed to do the third one, and then they canceled it. So I guess they decided to go the whole Twitter route.
It's like getting fired over the internet.
Well, it's a business. I don't take it personally.
Okay. Anyway, just out of interest, for those wondering about getting into voice acting and doing things like this, I mean, what advice would you give to somebody who would like to get involved in that in the industry today?
Well, I think something that people don't realize, which is something I try to explain to people all the time, is that voiceover really is a ton more than just animation. When I tell people I'm a voiceover artist, the first thing they go is, "Oh, what shows are you in?" And voiceover is so much more than that. Some people tend to only want to do animation, and some people tend to only want to do commercials or promos, but it's a huge, huge industry. So what I tell people is that know who you are, because there's a million people who are trying to get into this, and you're unique. So know who you are, know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and really work on what you're good at, and be the unique person.
It's like, I know that voice acting is, a huge thing, and, doing voiceovers for a lot of things. There's one thing that has always annoyed me about the current situation with voice acting, and that's movie trailers. I've always noticed that it's always like a dramatic guy who does it, and like I never actually heard a woman describe to me something like about a movie trailer that's coming out soon. It's like I don't know if that's changed in recent times, but
I don't know why they do that. I guess they spend all this money, the studios spend all this money on focus groups who tell them that they want to hear men. I remember it's a little bit different than trailers, but I did some promos for a network once. And I was talking to them after, and I said, "Oh, thanks so much for using a woman because, I don't really hear women do these trailers very much, especially for big networks." And they said, "Well, we do focus groups, and the executives think that because people say that they prefer men, that they're just going to go with that." And I said, "But how are they supposed to know what they prefer when they are only used to hearing men? It's just familiar. Don't you want to stand out? Isn't that the whole point of a promo, is to make your show stand out from the norm?" So I don't know. I think there may be some of that going on with trailers too, that they are used to men and that's just what works, and they just want to go with what works. When you have 3 seconds to get somebody's attention, maybe they just want to go with what they know.